Welcome,
Jay.
welcome everybody again to another episode of the Metal Summit. We appreciate, as always, all of our fans, all of our friends, all of our family joining us every Wednesday night with a little bit of lockdown action, a little bit of unlockdown action, and again, spending your night with us, with our guests, and with our family. For all of you, beautiful people out there, all you witches, all you warlocks, and we're going to be rocking with Dokken tonight. And we want to bring in our friend, someone we admire, Mr. Jonathan Levine. Thank you, sir.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, thank you, bro.
For sure.
Thank you.
Definitely. We're happy to have you, man, for sure. Again, for everybody who's new to the Metal Summit, as well as our fans who are familiar with us for the last series of months that we're doing, we bring us in to all of our brothers, all of our deviants. We've got Bobby Dreyer, we've got Angel Alamo, Max Ash, and we got Psycho Steve coming to you tonight.
Modern technology, the wonders.
Absolutely. But John, we'll just start it off with you, man. How's everything been going with you, and how have you been handling the downtime lately?
Everything's going really well, all things considered, So just playing a lot of guitar, writing a lot, and Don and I working on this new record, and the ideas are really coming along really well. We're working, with the modern technology, also doing Skype sessions and emailing each other stuff, and we're making a lot of progress. So we're using it wisely and writing, which we had to do anyway, so it worked out well.
Absolutely, for sure. That's definitely something that even in, I'm sure lots of fans, lots of bands are talking about it. All of us, when we're just kind of talking amongst ourselves, that's definitely something that we've always discussed, that, as much as, the bands and the music types totally hate the situation of being kind of locked away from what they love so much, it's that opportunity to just write something great.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cause for some good inspiration too right now. So, you got to deal with the times as they come and make the most of it, and that's what it is,
Absolutely, for sure. So here, man, we'll kick it to some of our mates. And Bobby, how about you start us off for this one?
So I got a good one here. So you going into the band, people like yourself, John, Phil X, everybody knows the iconic songs. You're a great guitar player. Do you feel the pressure that you go, man, I got some shoes to fill on this?
Oh,
going in.
It's a great question. For some reason, just the way my brain is put together, those type of things don't dawn on me. I just really focus on the work with whatever I'm doing. Even if I'm doing law, I just focus on what I have to do, and I don't really get caught up in things I can't control. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's about let me just do the best. I'm always in a lot of competition, but only with myself. So I just always am trying to do the best I can and get better from record to record and gig to gig. It's just a never-ending thing with me. Even with sound, I'm always trying to what can I do to get this a little. What if I tried this? And always tinkering around with things. It's just never been stagnant, and that's just how I am as a person in general. Maybe ultra neurotic, call it.
How do you separate though, going from with working on the new album? Look, you want it to sound like John Levine. It's kind of like when Zach went into Ozzy's band. Did he have to do the Randy stuff? Sure. But he wanted to, break away and sound like Zach. Is this album, are we going to hear John Levine? Are we going to hear old Dokken?
I think with the soloing, really, I just do what I want to do. When we do the older Dokken songs, I stick to George's solos when I play those live. Just the way that Zach stuck to Randy wrote stuff, and it's that's what I wanted to hear when I was a kid, and that's why I do that. But when it comes to recording, I just do what I like, and how I do it now really is I put the track up and I'll play 3 or 4 continuous solo passes, just one after the next, and then or sometimes 5 if I'm feeling wow, there's more to come. When it dies out, when I feel okay, I'm done, and I don't even listen to them at that point. Then I come 2-3 days later, I'll come back. If I'm feeling inspired, I'll do the same thing again until I amass 15 or however many solos I can, all done on different days. And then at some point I listen back to it, and it's really unbelievable how the directional change from one day to the next. And whatever I did in a certain day, say day 1, always seemed to have the same components. My brain would fall into something and I couldn't get away from that. And that's sort of what that would be. But then on the next day, it would be something completely different, and my brain would go into that, and I couldn't get away from that. So then at the end, it gave me a chance to step back and say, okay, I definitely don't like that first direction, but I really like this direction, and in fact, that's the lead. I just want to like fix 2 little things in it, and that's how I do it.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's super duper cool, man, and that totally makes sense as well. You know, because you want to be respectful of the stuff that came before you, but you're not a clone either. You know, so that's always important for everybody to understand that, especially when you're joining a project.
Yeah, you know, of course, it's a delicate balance, and you know, it's always been sort of fun to do it this way. So, yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. So I think that's important, though, for us to bring in our birthday boy for our next series of questions here. So, Psycho Steve, happy birthday, my friend, and take it away.
Woo. Thank you. Okay, so the question is, you represented Dokken beforehand you joined the band, correct?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Okay. Did you have to try out, or was the gig just given to you?
It was the strangest thing how this all happened, and it's really unbelievable how it. I was in a band called Warlock in the '80s.
Right, with Dora.
The guitar player was the bass player rather was Tommy Henriksen, who's still a dear friend of mine today. In fact, he's like in Alice Cooper and the Hollywood Vampires, and we're still bros after 35 years or 30, whatever it's been. I think since '88. Yeah. So anyway, he moved out to Los Angeles and played in the band with Jeff Pilson. And then I actually became Jeff's attorney at one point. And then one day I was actually in court. I was dressed in a suit. I went from court to my father's house for dinner. And I decided to check my office voicemail because I hadn't been in the office all day. So I checked my voicemail, and I had a message from Jeff asking if I could come that night to come to Redondo Beach and play on some solos. But he never said that it was for Dokken. I assumed that it was like for one of Jeff's bands, you know. Honestly, had he said it was for Dokken, I have a tendency to be a little shy. Sometimes I might have said forget it. So I hung up after listening to the message, and my dad asked me what it was. So I said, oh yeah, you know, a friend of mine wants something I can go play some solos on some songs, and I wasn't going to go. And he's like, well, do it. I'm like, nah. At that point, I didn't really play all that frequently. You know, I was more focused on. You know, this was, let's say, 98. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, went down there to the studio, and I was still dressed up. The door opens, and Don opened the door. And literally, the door of the studio swung open, and I later learned it was actually Don's studio. So a Les Paul comes through the door. Like, the door swings open, and an arm comes out with a Les Paul. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, here, play. I think he must have been skeptical about the whole thing. Frankly, I would have been if someone said to me, hey, man, my lawyer's going to come down and play. I'm like, what? You're bringing your lawyer down to play guitar? Come on, man. So he gave me the guitar. He didn't even want to really let me hear the tracks. I said, oh, can I hear it first? He's like, no, it's an 8, just solo. So he put the thing up. I whipped a couple solos out. It went well. One of them they used on one of the 2 songs. It was a song called The Irish Song that I actually have to go look online and hear it. I haven't heard it in so long. I think it was released somewhere in Japan or something. And the other one was a demo of Maddest Hatter, but it sounded nothing like the version that eventually was on that record. So anyway, a couple weeks later, I got a call from Jeff, and he's like, hey, man, how do you do under pressure? I'm like, good, what's up? It's like, well, we have a gig headlining Dallas Starbucks July 4th, 98. Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, sure. So that's how it happened. I rehearsed with them a couple times, and then actually there's even something else that happened in between. June 29th is Don's birthday, coming up actually soon. For Don's birthday on June 29th, he said, hey, could you come down and play at this club I have? And, you know, I misheard him. I thought he said it's called the Steakhouse, but it was really called the Stakeout. So he gave me directions. This was back, there was no GPS back then. I tried to write it down. I didn't want to tell him I don't really understand. I think I'll just find it, you know. I drove down to Redondo Beach with my girlfriend at the time. I couldn't find the place. And time is going by. I'm thinking, I got to go, forget it. I'm not going to be able to find it. So then, sure enough, we drive by a place where there's a ton of cars and people. And she's like, is that it? Is it the Stakeout? I'm like, oh, that must be it. And I made it by the skin of my teeth and played this. Like, that was my first actual little gig with the band.
Awesome.
So, and then we did Starplex after that. And that's how it started.
Cool.
Sorry for being so long-winded, but I figured I'd give you the...
That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely, no, for sure. Actually, you had already touched on it, John, and this was something that I wanted to bring in because I myself am a very big Warlock fan, a big fan of Doro's work, both as Warlock as a solo artist as well. And the thing I was kind of curious to ask you about is because you were with the band during the name changeover, and
Yeah.
a while back I did a really great interview with Doro, and we actually talked in depth about the loss of the Warlock name and how upsetting that was to her. And I would just love to ask you what you remember about that with the management staking claim and the courts and whatnot, as much as you would love to share.
Sure. I was real. I wasn't. I was just mainly like a hired guy in Warlock, so I wasn't privy to any discussions she really had with her manager. But all I know is they told me they weren't sure what they were going to do with the name. They told me it was Doro or Doro and Warlock, and sure enough, it just turned out to be Doro. So it was all good for me. I was just happy to be in the gig, and it was a great experience for me. And it's a really young age.
Absolutely, for sure. And then just one little follow-up on that as well, because this was something that you kind of told me after that Dokken gig that I was talking to you about when I saw you last, that I thought was kind of interesting, is that on that first Force Majeure Doro album, you go by John Devon.
Yeah.
Those. And you just kind of told me a kind of a cool story about that I'd love for you to just repeat for the fans.
Sure. Well, here's what happened with that. There was the bass player in the band Europe had the same name as me, John Levine. So I never thought it was going to be any issue. He was actually also like endorsed by Kramer. And one day I went down there and they made a mistake and like they made my order his order because I was trying to get a guitar. And then the singer I was playing with at the time was like, man, you really should change your name. My middle initial is D, so I just substituted the D for the L.
That's
Awesome. And years later, after that, when I got into the Dokken thing, I was thinking, you know what, man, at this point, forget it. It is what it is. So, yeah, I decided not to continue with it.
Absolutely, for sure. Before we kick it over to Angel to bring in the fans, Max, how are you doing, my friend? Do you want to get down?
Yes, sir. I'm doing awesome, and thank you, John, for joining us. It's very nice of you, man. And thank you for the
Thanks for having me.
Yes, you are. This is a question about how do you manage to be, like a legal person, a person of the law, and a rock and roll musician at the same time. It's like,
It
law,
can be challenging.
party all night, and business all day.
There's literally been times where we would tour. We used to, we don't take buses anymore, but we used to go out in buses. And I had a little makeshift office in the back of the bus. And I used to work in the back of the bus, and sometimes I'd be so caught up in that. Then the tour manager would come and get me and say, "Hey, man, you got to get dressed. You only have like another 40 minutes, and you're on." So sometimes the hat changes would happen quickly. But you have to remember, I was always a musician way before I was a lawyer. I dropped out of college initially in 1986 to play music, and then snuck my education in between that point and 91 or whenever it was I went to law school, 92 when I went to law school. But the law thing only came for me after, I'm a guitar solo player. I like to play leads, and I'm from the school of, he's laughing. I like to, all of that stuff when I was a kid, Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch, Michael Schenker. I loved all that. And then when this grunge thing hit and it's all out the window, then I was so disheartened with it because no one played guitar solos. Then it wasn't even cool to play guitar solos. So I really didn't know what to do then at that point, and I didn't feel like it was like it made sense for me to go forward trying to like make it in another band. I just felt like the whole rug got pulled out from under me. So, I had to make a decision to do something. So ended up going to law school.
Cool.
Where'd you wind up with the law?
What's that?
Where did you go to law school?
I went to Loyola Law School. Here in Los Angeles.
And why? I'm sorry, a follow-up question. Why you decided that it's something the law as a lawyer is something that you like since you were a kid? Something
no, I wasn't really that interested. This is what happened. Well, look, I have a brother-in-law who was a divorce attorney, and I had to do something. So we looked to the people like that we look up to, and he was always someone I still look up to this day. And he said, look, it's only 3 years. Why don't you just do it? And instead of thinking about something for 3 years, just do it, and then you'll be done. So that made sense to me, because I can think about something for a very long time. I have that capacity. I could sit there right now and think about this for 3 years. So, in that time, I figured, let me just do something. And I went to law school and I got it done. And then once I got it done, I was like, okay, who would have thought that I had to become a lawyer to get pulled back into a band? Mm-hmm. But, or sometimes the world turns in very strange ways, Mm-hmm. But that's how it literally happened.
Yeah. Sorry, one more very quick. And then you are the law you practice is related to the showbiz, or is something or something else?
I do entertainment law and business transactions, but a lot of my practice is divorces, because I found along the way a lot of my entertainment clients who get divorced, and they trusted me. And my brother-in-law who does divorce. So I have a very big family law practice, and the rest is entertainment business.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, man.
Absolutely, for sure, man. Angel, how are we doing with the fans, and how about a little speaking of your own?
Yes, we're doing good. We actually have a fan that's a very good question. Let me just acknowledge some of the new fans. Rick Olsley, thank you for watching. Jackie Francosi, your question was just answered about what kind of law John practices. We have Leo Neal from France, and he wants to know, John played on the Doro album Force Majeure. What do you think of the album in hindsight, and what was it like to work with Bobby Rondinelli?
The band was just wonderful. The band was Bobby Rondinelli on drums, and he was a drummer. He played in Rainbow, and the very first concert I saw as a little kid was Rainbow, and the Scorpions opened up for Rainbow in Madison Square Garden, and there was Bobby, with the twirling the sticks and doing a 10-minute drum solo, and to be able to play in a band with him that was just like a dream come true. So between Tommy and Bobby and I, the band was really a smoking band. I mean, we were so good. And Doro, come on. I mean, who gives a more hardcore performance than her? No one, right? Yeah. So she's just unbelievable energy. So it was just a great experience. And I think the way we did that record, back then it was still before Pro Tools. So we actually rehearsed all of those songs. Rehearsed them. We went to SIR, rehearsed it all. And once we had them all tight, we went into a recording studio and played those. So the rhythm tracks, when they got a good take, I doubled my rhythm right there, and I actually popped a couple. I remember doing a couple leads right away, which were kept. One of them was a song called I'd have to look at the record to see the titles, but then I would be able to tell you. But there was one or two of the solos I popped out right away. And bands, today recording's different. No one does that anymore. You have Pro Tools. All right, that's a good verse. Slide into the next thing. You like that part? Okay. It's like cutting and pasting. But even today, I don't like to do that because I feel like that sterilizes the track. I still play through the whole thing, And even going back to your earlier question with guitar solos, I try not to punch in anymore. I'll try for a complete pass. And if I have to just punch in to fix a few things, that's fine. Or if there's a comp that I could do, that's fine, but I won't punch a solo together. I've learned now, there's something about the continuity of when you do it that you can't duplicate, unless you get it all together and really have your solo down, and then you can learn it and play it in one pass, that's fine. But you can't just say, all right, I like his one riff, now punch me and I'll find another riff. That sounds like, that doesn't sound right, So for me, the closer I can get it to one complete pass, for me, that's better.
Nice. Angel, real quick before you jump back onto there with the fans, John, was it Mission of Mercy or World Gone Wild? Were either of those your leads? Do you remember?
No, it wasn't either of those two. Give me the record and title. If you can keep going, I'll tell you what it was.
Oh, I can get it up really quick. I'm just a Doro guy, so I know the songs really well.
I even remember the guitar I did it on. It was a white Kramer Beretta.
Nice.
I remember I got lucky on one lead quick, and I got it in there fast.
So you did your cover of A Whiter Shade of Pale.
Yeah.
Save My Soul.
That's it. That's
Save
it.
My Soul.
Yes, that lead was a pretty much a live pass right after we cut the basics.
Nice.
I distinctly remember that.
And then it was Wild Mercy, and then it was Angels, Dirty Faces, and Beyond the Trees.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff on there, Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks, Angel. Thanks for letting me jump in, man. Take it away.
Hey, no problem. I'm just gonna repeat one fan's question and then a question of my own. Bill Burke from India. Welcome back to the show, man. We appreciate you watching. Bill wants to know, what are some of the guitarists that you are into now?
Oh, okay. Now, this is what I'm into now, because going back, I could give you a much bigger list because I went through a lot. But right now, frankly, my two favorite players are Nuno Betancourt and Michael Schenker. Today. Nice. If I had to choose two, those are my two favorites, probably. I mean, not that there aren't a ton of other great players, because there is. But just today, those would be my two faves.
And now here's my question. When you left music to go to law school, did you ever plan on going back into music ever?
No, I thought it was done. I wasn't really playing that much. My guitars were in the closet. I wasn't, whereas back in the day, there wouldn't be a day that would go by that I wouldn't play for however long. Then it started becoming, weeks could go by and I didn't touch the guitar. So I was really transitioning into full-on law, Then I had a record company for a period of time. And I was just going in different directions. Just it pulled me back in just by some bizarre twist of fate. It's just really how it happened, honestly.
Oh, nice, man. Nah, that's super duper cool. Did you ever, when you did get back into playing music a little more regularly, after your law practices and when everything started going well with Dokken, did you find you had to kick off any excessive rust, or were you felt pretty good about getting back on the bike?
It's really strange. Back then, I was really able to just pick the guitar up after weeks of not playing and still have my entire vocabulary. It's not so much the same today. Now it's a little bit more, I need a little warm-up time sometimes. Still, from where I'm at, look, for my age, it's still pretty good. There's sometimes I can pick up the guitar and in 2 minutes I'm good, Other times takes a little bit longer, but it's not like it was where I could go 2 weeks and not touch the guitar, pull it out of the closet and as if I didn't miss a step, That's what it was when I was, 30.
Absolutely, for sure. Bobby, why don't you jump in, brother, and then Max, how about you follow him up?
So the big thing, John, you did an interview a while back with a buddy of mine, Caleb Rappaport, who's the guitar player for Nerd Halen.
Love Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb's great. Another FU guy. We talked about tone and this and that. I mean, new gear, old gear. I'm the gear slob, Are you a modeling Kemper type of guy, or do you go traditional and go, look, I'm going to mic up a cab. I really, this is what I want.
For live, I only go real amp. Marshall. Only real amp for live. And I really have my live rig. Look, we do mainly fly dates, so I'm on mostly rental amps, almost exclusively. So I just travel with a very, small pedal board, and all that's in there is, a delay, a chorus, and an overdrive pedal. That's it. I mean, well, there's a little channel switcher because the Marshall cable it never reaches close enough to the front of the stage. That's all that's in there. Oh, a tuner, but does that even count?
Well, of course. Yeah.
So there's really not a whole bunch. I mean, that's all I personally need to get through the jobs. I could probably play in any situation with just that. Other than that, it's how you set the amps and how you mic the amps and your guitar and the pickup. But look, at the end of the day, it's a lot of it's how you play too.
Yeah, of course.
But you acquire knowledge along the way just by doing it so many times. I mean, now I can plug something in at the sound check, and in 2 seconds I know right away there's a problem with one of the cabinets is out of phase. In the beginning I wouldn't have noticed that, but now at the second I notice that. Or I'll notice if there's a preamp 2 problem or whatever it may be. So I almost always have 2 advanced, and if I need to start, I can pull things out of one if I have to get 1 amp. Because look, sometimes you turn the amp on and it doesn't even go on, and now you're down to 1. And that happens frequently. They're old amps at this point. The stuff I'm using, I mean, they're from they're 20 years old at least.
But you were saying, for your recording, you developed the program on the 11 rack.
Yeah, for record. for recording, look, I mean, if I had my way, I would probably mic the amp up in the house, but it's loud. That's the only drawback with it. It's super loud, and even if I have a studio in the back, but even then, it becomes like, is it really worth it? So what I do is, for demos, I have my 11 rack settings that I like, and it's fine. But when we record records, I print what's called a reamp track. So it's literally like there's one channel coming out that I could hear with the sound of the 11 rack, but then there's another channel that's just the DI of the guitar. And then later on, when we finish, if I decide I don't like the sounds, I'll just run the DI. I'll bring my amps to a studio, run the DI back through the amps, mic it back up. So that gives me a lot of flexibility,
Very cool.
Yeah, that's how I do it. And I try to print everything dry.
That's the best way to do it. Mistakes, you can fix them right there.
Yeah. This way, if you commit to a setting with effect, then you're sort of stuck with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
Hey, great question.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, Bobby, that was a great question, dude. Yeah, Max, jump on in here, friend.
Yeah, John, what's the song that you enjoy the most when a Dokken song, right? When you play live, with what song?
I'm asking the question a lot. I really just love all the songs. I mean, they're just such great classic songs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so hard to put my finger on like one.
Okay, which one is the most complicated technically, or which one was
What's the most technically complicated?
Yeah, or the one that took you longer time to learn?
Oh man, well I guess it would be the tooth and nail one, just because it's so long. But you have to remember, I mean, I learned these so long ago that after I've been in the band like almost 20 years, so at this point it's such second nature because I've done it so many times. Of course, when I first had to learn it, I would say that. I mean, that's the longest one. It probably took the longest time to learn.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Do you get how since you've been in the band so long now too, with 3 records under your name, like what would you say from your era with working with Don? How do you look at like your progression? How do you feel about having to write these Dokken styled songs that will play well with the originals, but with the way that the music business is now and what people might want to listen to now?
I don't ever personally think about like what the business is. I've just never done that. Like I always write just for what feels right for me. And because I was always such a Dokken fan growing up, that it's natural for me to write things that sort of sound right for this. And as far as the progression of the records, I really like the progression because I think they make logical sense. If you go from the first one I played on with Don, that was the Hell to Pay one, which was sort of a reach out record, because that to me that's not really a Dokken-y sounding record, except for a couple of tracks. I mean, there was a Beatle-y sounding one. Letter to Home is sort of Beatle-y. That was the first song I wrote with Don together. He came over to my house and I had that intro riff. But that doesn't sound Dokken-y at all. It sounded more Beatle-esque,
Mm-hmm.
So that song didn't really sound that Dokken-y. The next one did, Lightning Strikes Again, because we actually discussed what we were going to do for that one, and I said, I really pushed on that in that direction. I'm like, what, let's do something that really fits with the Dokken catalog. That would be maybe the next step from where you left off after like the Back for the Attack record. And he said to me, John, you're asking me to like go back 30 years in time. I don't remember what I felt or what I was thinking back then. I can't, I said, okay, what if I burn you like a CD of my favorite songs and just put it in your car and drive, just listen to it and drive around with it. And that he did that, and that sparked like a whole progression for us. And I think that record, I was really pleased with that one.
That was really, really cool. I really like that record too. I mean, I'm a Dokken guy as well, and I really thought that was very, very cool. I mean, I've got a very close fondness to like the early stuff, but as well as like, my love affair with horror movies obviously makes that particular record that you were talking about, where you wanted the album to jump right in after, very, very near and dear to my heart, because, Dream Warriors is always just such a killer track.
Right.
And one of the funny things I always actually heard Don say one time when he thought about that song, which just, I find it interesting with watching it perform now with you and the guys, is him talking about how high pitched he sang back at that time, versus how he performs now, and taking care of his voice, and also just the way that a voice would age in general too. So that was one thing I definitely thought is cool about the way you guys write those records now that do fit, because you do have to take things like that into consideration.
I mean, look, we're all getting. I mean, first of all, he's doing wonderfully. Look, he's 60. He's going to be 66. Who sings that well at that age?
Wow.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
know?
Amazing.
And he's such a great writer, and we have a really good writing chemistry. And then I think the next one we did together, the Broken Bones one, was a really good progression from the one before it, because we kept a little bit of the Dokken vibe that we had, but we went off in a little different direction. And I love that record, and so did Don. And it was just super disheartening that unfortunately we both got sick right around the time it was for that, and really affected how things went for that particular record. But I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably go with that one for me.
Nice. Absolutely, for sure. And what do you got going on kind of like right now? So as the world's kind of becoming less mad and things are kind of like getting back into a little bit of the flow with things like opening back up and stuff, are you concentrating right now mostly on like law and stuff besides writing the new record?
Yeah, I think that's what it is for now. I mean, we all have to make a living, and basically the whole touring thing went to hell in a handbag for the most part, and who knows what's going to happen, till next summer. I mean, most bands, a lot of bands anyway, are just laying low, and it's a tough situation. It is what it is. We all have to just grin and bear it and do what we have to do and get through it, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Do you know if you're tentatively just kind of letting 2020 play out, or are you eyeballing anything for late this year?
Well, what we're hoping is that we do this record and do a proper tour on the record for next summer, because it's going to take quite a long time to finish this thing, so it is what it is. There's a couple of gigs on the books. I had a discussion with Don about this, which is unfortunately for me. I have two, sort of situations that I have to deal with at the same time with regards to this COVID thing. So in my unique situation, I have a 90-year-old dad that I'm a caretaker. I have to take care of my dad. But I can't get a caregiver for him because it's too risky. He's near me, so I can't catch it and give it to him. And also, unfortunately for me, I had a discussion with my doctor, and I have some health, concerns that wouldn't really be a concern but for the COVID thing, but they are with the COVID thing. So I have to sort of hide this out for now, unfortunately. So, I don't think there's going to be too much going on in the meantime. So for now, it is what it is. We all have to do what we all have to do. And the most important thing to do is, stay safe, and whatever that means for you,
Yep.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, then we do want to definitely take a second to say, love and support for your father, love and health for yourself.
I wouldn't have been in the band if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
He puts me into the audition.
Oh, nice. That's awesome, man.
But yeah, it's great to still have him, and we got to protect him. It is what he is.
Absolutely.
It's really difficult for someone that age. Could you imagine? He can't be around anyone. We can't let anyone go there. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, totally. I mean, I've got an 80-plus-year-old stepfather who I love to death, and it's been difficult for just going over to visit my mom, where it's so we're just kind of playing the game. We distance, we sit out on the patio and just kind of talk and have lunch out there. But I haven't been in the house in 6 months.
Yeah, it's really crazy times we're living in, man. It's sort of surreal. It really is just, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. But it is what it is, and we'll get through it, and it'll pass.
Yep.
100%. Absolutely. Angel, sounds like you're up, man. How are we doing?
Oh, we got 3 really good fan questions. Lee O'Neill has 2 questions, so I will go ahead and plug away. Lee wants to know, what do you think about the 7-string guitars, and do you use it?
I have enough trouble with the 6. I don't. You know what I mean? I haven't even mastered the 6 yet. So for me, I have no business throwing another one on there.
All right. Do you remember the first hard rock heavy metal album that you bought?
Good question, man. Good question.
Oh.
Kiss Alive too.
Yeah. Hey, you know the fans ask better questions than us. Maybe next time we should
Yes,
switch.
I'm gonna. Yeah, for next week's show, I'm going to
Good
them for
questions, good
advice.
questions. I'm excited, man.
Okay, Jackie wants to know: Do you like playing the ballads?
Oh yeah, Alone Again we play. I love all the
I love
ballads.
that
You know, I'm
song.
just listening to one actually that we had the song "Burning Tears" on the Broken Bones record. It's a great balladish type of song. I was just actually recently listening back to that. But we play Alone Again live. But we actually also did. We've done some other ballads live too, but we have to always do Alone Again because we can't do a Dokken show without playing that.
What a song, man. What a song, dude. Very deep. Very
Um,
deep lyrics.
April wants to know: any chance you guys would do the Monsters of Rock cruise again? I'm sorry. Any chance you would do the Monster of
Yeah,
Rock?
we've never done that.
Yes.
I'd be happy to do it. You know, we did a cruise show once, and it was on a cruise ship from Norway to Finland, somewhere over there. I can't remember exactly where, but it was us and Y&T. I personally don't do great on boats. I mean, if they invited us to do it, I'd do it. And, you know, you have to get that medication. But yeah, it'd be great. I don't know about doing it now. Did they have all sorts of problems recently on cruise ships?
Oh yeah, that's the last thing you want to go on.
Yeah. But eventually, would love to do it.
And my question is, would you ever do a project like a solo record? Would you ever consider doing that at some point
You know,
down the road?
I get asked, here's the thing. I personally don't know if I'd be able to do an instrumental type of record that would be interesting enough. When I hear others do it, some guys can do it and it's like really wonderful, but I hear a lot of people who make the attempt, and honestly, it gets monotonous and boring really quickly to me. So I just don't know if I could do anything that would satisfy me to the extent that I feel like, okay, this really says something and is something as opposed to just an excuse to do a long guitar solo, you know? So that's my issue. I mean, maybe I just don't, know about how songs, maybe I would try and do one track and just put that up and see if how it goes with one. I wrote a classical instrumental recently, so that I'm going to finish.
Cool.
It's done basically. So that's something I'm definitely going to record. It took a long time to write. It's not a rock track. It's just a classical based piece on guitar. I don't even know if it should be on a guitar, frankly, but it is on a guitar for now. But yeah, that's something I would record. But as far as doing the typical thing that you envision when you hear it, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. That would be anything of interest.
Gotcha,
Just
man.
being honest.
Oh, absolutely. I loved your response to the 7-string guitar question because I'm a bass guy myself, and I won't have anything to do with 5-string basses because that string gets in my way. I'm just like, no, like.
Yeah, there's so many limitless possibilities on the 6 strings that I haven't even gotten through the door yet of the amount of possibilities. So personally, I just couldn't throw another whole universe onto this. I'm not even in this universe. You're gonna add another one? So I don't personally need an extra low string. Sometimes I'll do the drop D tuning, but even with that, it's like you could do it, but you better be doing something fresh with it.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Before I kick it up to Bobby, a fun question that's always kind of like a staple of our show, especially with guitar players, is what's the first guitar you had?
First electric guitar was a Univox High Flyer, which was a copy of a Mosrite.
Yeah.
You know that it's like a reverse-looking Stratocaster. Do you know that? What I'm talking? I wish I still had it. I had it from 11 to 13. That's when I had it. My first acoustic guitar was just a random acoustic in our basement. Had nylon strings. I was 9, and then I got a steel string acoustic and won one in a contest. But then the electric didn't come till 11.
Gotcha. Yeah, we've gotten that before from a couple of guests where we seem to get a lot of the whole it was like that Sears acoustic made out of cardboard like guitar.
The Electro.
Yeah.
Some of those are worth some money. I had one of those.
For sure.
Yeah, I actually do have a 12-string nail nut. I use it all the time for recording.
Oh, nice. Right on. Hey, Bobby, jump in, brother.
Okay, my thing is, John, so with you being a lawyer, how do you flip the switch? Rock and roller?
I don't know, man. I never thought. I don't think about the things I guess that others would think about. For some reason, I'm not built that way, so I just don't think about it. Do you know what I'm saying? I guess you could think about or talk yourself into a whole bunch of stuff, you know? If I ever thought it would be like actually, I remember early on, Don brought it up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you can have trouble like working in the day and then switching to." I'm like, "Nah, it just wasn't ever an issue to me."
Okay, what about
You can take
clients?
anything. What's that?
What about your clients? When they look at you and go, wait a second, you do what?
I don't usually look, well, you know, right now there is no court, but I don't look like this when I go to court. You know, I got my hair all up in a bun in the back there, and you know.
That's good.
A lot of clients retain me by, first of all, anyone who is coming to me for a business deal or an entertainment deal, they usually know. A lot of the family law clients, I think they don't know, but then, you know, 6 months or a year in, they make a comment. You know, oh, you do know. Because I never tell them.
Oh, very cool, though. That's.
I've been in court and I've had people come up to me in the hallway, a couple lawyers, and it happens, asking me about
Tickets for the whiskey? No, they'll ask you for tickets for the whiskey.
Max, why don't you follow him up there, good dude?
Sir, yes, sir. So, John, talking about Don and writing lyrics together, tell me a story of how is he as a writer? You know, I think he's a poet. You know, he's very deep.
Okay. Let me tell you a few things most people don't know. Don is a wonderful talent as a producer, as a writer, arranger. I mean, I guess maybe people can envision that just from hearing the songs, but there's a lot more than I think maybe, you know, he's produced a lot of bands too. Great White, and you know, he's responsible for a lot of stuff, but you know, writing with him, here's what's so great about it. Like he's got a direction. You know, like I can play him something, but he'll know how to he'll know where to drive that riff. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's like a really wonderful talent to have.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like he has an idea, you know, like the muse comes to him, you know, and then he has all the song in his mind, you know, and you know, he's leading everybody to that result, you know, the end result of a song.
Well, you know, we have a few different, you know, look, now we're trying different ways because because of the COVID thing, we have to do things. We're trying different approaches. But in the past, you know, either he would have a riff or an idea, he'd play me, and if we were writing together, we could work it from there. Or I'd play him some of my riffs, and then he'd say, "Oh, I like that one," and we work from there. Or sometimes he'll record something on his own, like an intro verse, and then give it to me and say, "Here's what I have. Like you know, take it, do something with this." So we just collaborate. You know, it's just
very cool, man.
Very cool. You know, at the end, it seems like you know, when you're writing at the end, you can. The best stuff always reveals itself. So usually, if you have to get 12 songs, you know, we'll write 15 or 18 or however many we have to mock up to get to the best 12. You know.
Gotcha.
Absolutely, for sure. Before I kick it down to Angel with more talk from the fans and everything, I just want to take a quick second to say just like two quick shout outs. One, I want to say a shout out actually to my friend Jamie and his daughter Juliet. They are actually big fans of the show. They support us every week. They are actually currently at the emergency room just getting Juliet unfortunately got hit by something in the eye, but I've been in contact with them and they're doing okay, but that was kind of a shock to the system right before we went on air. So I wanted to publicly send some love out to them, and thank you so much, guys, for supporting the show and how much we sincerely love you guys.
Yeah, man. Hope she recovers soon, man.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure, guys, to keep you guys all in the loop when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Then of course I want to. Oh, absolutely. No, thank you, man, for sure. And I definitely just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our endorsements and our sponsors that we appreciate you guys so much. Levy Metal Enterprises, based out of Maryland. Bradley Entertainment, which has picked us up recently and wanting to work with us. We really appreciate their support. Twisted Vines, home decor and horror oddities based out of Rhode Island, and Aces and Eights Skateboards. Bobby, that one was for you. Out of Maryland as well, who look out for us and support us. So we really appreciate you guys being down for the project, bringing us to your family, you're in with our family. So thank you guys again very, very much for rocking with us, Aces and Eights, Levy Metal Enterprises, Bradley Entertainment,
Yeah,
and
thank you
Twisted.
so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. Angel, how are we doing, friend?
Oh, we're doing good. We have more questions from the fans. Lee wants to know, would you have a funny story to tell us that happened to you on stage?
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, let me give you a related stage story. We were on tour in 2004 with LA Guns, and I got our tour manager. No one could find our tour manager. So I look at my phone, and there was, I saw the red beep. So I listened to a message, and I hear this message like, "Hey, John, come bail me out, man. I'm in the Oklahoma City County Jail." So it turned out he got arrested. So we did the show, and right from the stage, we literally didn't even dress. We loaded up the tour bus, drove to the jail, and then I had to go in and get him out.
Wow.
Because we had to leave. So I go into, we pull up in front of the jail at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I went in there with like leather pants on, and I went to the desk and I'm like, "I'm here to see my client, such and such," and the woman looks at me like, "You're a lawyer?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a lawyer. Here's my bar card." Then she's like, "Hold on a second." I'm like, "All right." Then she's like, "All right, you're a lawyer. I'll take you back." So I said to her, "Look, I got to get him out. We have to be somewhere. Like, we have a 6-hour drive. We have to leave now." She's like, "Well, we don't process anyone out till 10 in the morning." I'm like, "I got to get him out now." And I got him out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool, man.
Does that qualify? Or you
Yes,
want
sir.
another one?
No, this is very good.
Not
man.
that qualifies.
That totally qualifies. That's a great one.
Yep.
It's like my cousin
Oh.
Vinny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a lot of strange things happened actually on that tour, but that was one that story stuck out.
Oh,
I can only imagine talking about how he ended up there in the first place.
Yeah, it's probably something else. Skip
Oh no,
over.
that's a totally second thing. I just meant that for like when you guys were on the bus, like after getting him out.
Yeah. That was somewhat strange, but things happen,
Yeah.
For sure. Sorry about that, Angel. Take it away, bro.
no, I'm just still laughing about 2 or 3 in the
Actually,
morning.
another one on that same tour, if you want.
Go ahead.
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
We were playing at a place called Firewaters in Houston, and over the past week, we were having some issues with some of the crew we had. One crew member was like, we had this brand new bus with beautiful like ivory leather, and this one guy was taking like a Sharpie and writing girls' numbers on the leather, and then apparently like he tried to plug his computer in to the power of the bus, which I guess is one's DC and one's AC. So he blew all the power out of the bus, and so the bus driver was disappointed in us, and sure enough, so we do this show. We got off stage, and all of our equipment was on the side of the road. But back by yeah, the guy ditched us. The driver ditched us.
Jeez.
Holy
So,
shit.
we're with all our stuff in no bus. Yeah. So we got another bus, and the next bus I remember had no air conditioning. And we drove from Texas to Louisiana
Ah,
in 1980 with a tuna can with windows that didn't open and no air conditioning.
Oh,
God.
crazy, man.
Oh, we got 3 more fan questions. Bruce Mitchell wants to know, do you like playing at Fishhead Cantina?
Wow, local guy.
I like it.
Yeah, do you like playing there?
I don't ever know that I played there. I'm sorry. Did I? It's not familiar.
Sorry, let me jump in. John, that was the show we were just talking about, the Baltimore show.
Oh, so I guess I did play that. I don't really remember the room, so
Gotcha.
I saw a photo. I probably remember.
Gotcha. It was a good set that night. You guys
Was it outdoors?
Kind of. It's like
I remember the place.
It's like a restaurant, like down a little ramp, and then and then it's like kind of an outside that you can lower walls, and it's got like a patio and a grass out back.
Yeah, I remember that very well that night. Yeah. I remember it well. Yeah. That was in Baltimore?
It's called like Arbutus or Halethorpe, but it's only like 10 minutes outside of Baltimore.
I'm pretty sure I was having a problem with my toe that night.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I had gout.
Oh.
I never had it before, but I remember that night. I remember that place, yeah. I walked into the room, I walked in at sound check. It felt like someone's hit my toe with a sledgehammer. And some guy looked at me, man, and he points at me, he goes to his friend, he got the gout. That's what he said to me.
Oh,
and he was right, I did have it.
Oh.
Jackie wants to know, do you do court appearances via virtual conferences?
Do I do court appearances virtually?
Yeah.
I've appeared, I've done court call many times. You can appear by phone. Although in the past, I try never to do that because I've been in court. And when you're in court waiting for your case to be called and someone does that, it's so strange when another lawyer calls in on the phone. It's just like, oh. I try never to do that unless it's an emergency. But now with the whole COVID thing, everyone's going to do that.
Yeah.
No one's going to go. And I think here they're allowing us to do that, no questions asked now. You used to have to make an application to the court to ask to do that. Now they probably don't want anyone coming down there.
April wants to know, BJ Zampa and Chris, they seem to be a really good fit in the band. Do they contribute to the writing process on this record?
Well, so far, they weren't in the band when we wrote any of the other records, so it's too soon to tell, but at some point I'm sure that's a possibility. We're at the early stages of this, So far, it's, Don sent me a bunch of stuff I'm working on. I sent him stuff for him to check out. So still, we've made a lot of progress and there's a lot of things going on, but it's just way early,
Okay, and Bill has a question for you. For guitarists learning the fretboard, how would you teach someone how to learn the fretboard?
I can only tell you
positions, chords, all the above.
What was that? What was the last part?
Do you see scales, positions, chords?
This is how I sort of learned. For me, it's a combination because, when I was a kid, there was no like YouTube that you could go look at exactly how Eddie Van Halen did a solo or whatever. You had to like put on records and figure it out. But, one good way to do it is, for example, take any key, like the main keys we use as a guitar player, like E, A, F sharp, D, G. Pick any of those and just take the 5 notes in a pentatonic scale, in whichever key you're doing. Get a piece of paper, draw the guitar fretboard out with all 6 strings and all 22 frets, like on a piece of paper. And then color in all those 5 notes all the way. And if you do that, that'll reveal every note you could play in the pentatonic position, say, for that particular key. That's a great way to do it. And then you can make up your own patterns and see it how you want to visualize it and combine that with other things you make up, That's a great way to do it. For any player, really,
And speaking of guitars, you have the website, johnlevittguitars.com. Can you tell us about that website? I know something new that you started doing this year.
Around Christmas time, I was playing on the couch for my brother-in-law, and he said the same thing to me. Why don't you do some solo? I'm like, I don't even do solo thing. It's boring, man. And I'm in Dokken. I have no time for that. So he's like, well, what if you just like did a site with some riffs or something? Like, would anyone care? Like, he's like, yeah, if people saw you play like just in your room, everyone would be into it. Like, all right. So I started out by just like recording like myself doing riffs on this. I'd be playing on the couch. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I'd video it, and I showed it to my buddy Rob Hoffman. He's a manager in music business, manages like Extreme and a bunch of stuff. And a very close friend of mine. He's like, hey man, you can't put that out. If you want to do something like that, you got to get like proper camera and get it to sound good. So then I got like snowballed into buying a camera, and then once I got the camera, I'm like, wait a second, how do I get the sound to sound right through the camera? That's a whole other talk show. So that took weeks to figure that out. And then wait a second, I have to also speak. So now I need a mixing board. So I got a mixing board because I have to be able to talk. And then it just snowballed into this whole thing. And then I found like this approach to teaching where ADD and I don't like really boring stuff. So I'm like, what if I just categorize these riffs into different classes? You know, like mild, medium, and spicy for like beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Play the riff, then do it slower, and then give a little tutorial about how to do that riff. So each riff has 3 clips. So then I built it like that, and then I started throwing like some of the Dokken solos from the records I did on there. No, I don't do the old Dokken stuff on there because to me that's not my stuff, and I don't think that would be right to do. So I only do the solos that I did and riffs I make up, and you know I just think it's and there's some basic practice exercises and I add to it. You know, I just recorded a whole a bunch of new stuff that I'm going to put up on there on it. I'm just going to build off it, and that's how it started. Now there's 120 riffs up there, 120 clips.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Angel, do we have anything else, brother? I'm going to kick it to Bobby.
Oh, yes. Jackie wants to know, do you remember the tour in 2008 when you toured with Poison?
Yeah. Yes. To your question. I remember. Is there a question more than that, or?
No, she just mentioned that Don
remember.
was sick on that tour.
That's all she wanted to know, if I remembered it?
Yep.
I remember it. It was a great tour. We had a great time on it. It was Poison, Dokken, and Sebastian Bach. And
Nice.
we had a great time. It was like 40 shows, I think. And it was great. Wonderful.
Right on.
And Levin Lewis wants to know, what's your favorite guitar?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, hang on. I'll show it to
Good
you.
question.
Actually, while he's grabbing that, that's Levin from Levy Metal. So thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I got a
Good
couple.
question.
If I had it, I mean, look, I have a bunch, but if I had to narrow it down to like just 1 or 2 or 3, this would definitely be in there.
Wow.
It's a 1959 Les Paul Special.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's just something about this one. I never gigged with it in Dokken. In the band I was in before Dokken, this was my main guitar. I mean, right now it doesn't even have strap lock pins on it. Couldn't even put a strap on it. And it needs a pot. This thing's crackly, but it just sounds unbelievable. And plays unbelievably too. You know, it's just a wonderful instrument. Nothing sounds like this.
Nice.
So if I had to go with my number 1, it would be this. I have a couple other Les Paul. I have one other Les Paul that I really, really love. It's something I got recently. It's a 59 reissue with the Brazilian fretboard, and I've been playing that quite a bit. But for the Dokken stuff, my favorite one that works best for the band is that black and white Charvel.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
those would be my three favorites if I had to choose. Those.
Again, just want to give a quick shout out to our friend Lee. It's 4 a.m. in France. He's going to bed. Thank you for staying up
Oh,
and watching.
thank
That
you,
is
Lee.
so cool.
Absolutely, Lee. Thank you so much. Bobby, jump in there, good dude.
So, with everything being locked down right now, and you guys just writing, is the law end and that taking up more of the time? I mean, you know, since there's no gigs, no nothing going on.
Well, yeah, you know, my day is comprised of law work and then music. So for me, writing always goes in phases. I'll get a wave of inspiration and I'll ride the wave and I'll record as much as I can. Then my switch will turn off a little bit and I'll have to get away from it. So I forget about that for a minute, then I come back to it. So it seems to go like that. You know, I can't force myself to write. I have to sort of be in the right frame of mind. Certain things I could do with writing, no matter what frame of mind I'm in. Like if Don sends me a track and wants me to mess around with it and come up with new parts, that I could sort of do whenever I sort of want to. But with regards to making up things from scratch, like a new riff, that I can't force. It has to sort of happen, you know.
Very cool.
Right on.
So, do you going back to Loyola? Have you spent? You graduated from what year from Loyola?
96.
Have you been back?
To the school?
Yeah, over to the law
No,
school.
I never went back. I got my degree.
Got done. That's it. In and out.
Never went back there and didn't really know anyone. And I had one friend who I'm still friends with today. Didn't make any friends in law school. Didn't really talk to anyone in law school. I was just on a mission to get this get it over with. So I didn't like really make any friends there. Yeah.
Well,
Gotcha.
we're glad you went back to the rock and roll.
Yeah, I just wanted it over as quickly as possible, frankly. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I can imagine that, obviously that's exactly what school is in learning and training and stuff like that. But when it actually came to post graduation and actually doing work in the courts, did you end up having any kind of a culture shock, or did you pretty much slide right in?
Oh, court was a somewhat of a transition for me because I didn't have any court training other than what I taught myself. I didn't take. I remember I enrolled in trial advocacy in law school, but I dropped out because I didn't want to do it, and I thought I would never need it because I would just at the time I thought I would only be a music attorney doing contracts. But it turned out I do quite a bit of litigation, and it's like anything else. There's a pretty big learning curve with that, and that's a whole other type of pressure than going on stage to play a rock show, with a band. I grew up playing music, so that's a different type of energy going on stage than walking into a courtroom. Completely different.
For sure.
Yeah, it really is. They're not alike at all.
Absolutely, definitely. Max, how about yourself here, man?
Yes,
I heard your voice.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about your website. So let's see. Here we have a screenshot. So what the web for everybody who wants to check this out? This is a very cool website. You have free lessons. You have a paid, package that you can, get a lot of content there. Then you have solos. You have the guitars that John uses. So, but John, what's the website URL? Is John Levine Guitars, right?
Yeah, John Levin Guitars.
.com, correct. So
Yeah.
then let's go. I'm sorry, I'm gonna do this very quick.
Yeah, sure.
There is another page there. Let me put it that right now. So you have a bunch of guitars. You have a guitar section there. Tell me a little bit about it.
There almost everything I have is up there for my instruments.
Okay.
Except that one new one I told you about that I really like. That one,
Yep.
I have this one that's called the Brazilian fretboard. It's not photographed there, which is now one of my main guitars. Maybe I'll put it up. That's just everything that I still have right back from the beginning.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I've sold a lot along the way. I'm sure if I would have kept everything, that'd be 3 times that much. But that's what I have left, and everything that I have in there fits a purpose. I don't have anything left that I don't use.
Okay.
So either anything up there either is something that has sentimental value to me that I had since I'm a kid, or has some backstory, or is something I use, or is something is a collectible.
Nice.
So there's nothing there's no fluff left in there.
Nice. And then our latest, the last page that I wanted to display is the packages that you offer, right? So you have 3 packages. One is a monthly one that is about $10. There's another one that
Where are you getting lessons for $10?
what's that?
Where are you getting lessons for $10?
From a pro like you, man.
I was
Anywhere.
contemplating just doing it for free, and my wife's like, you put so much time into this, costs you a lot of money. You better make a little of it back.
Exactly.
But then a nominal amount.
Then you are offering a deal that is $100 per year, so you save a couple of months, right? And do you have more content in that package, or is the same content as the monthly payment?
It's the same content, only you get a discount.
Okay.
10 months instead of 12.
And then there's another branch of the packages that is Skype, right? So you offer like half an hour of dedicated lesson to or an hour. That's pretty cool, man, and very affordable actually.
And that's, by the way, it's super temporary. I'm only doing it because I have a little bit of extra time because of this COVID thing.
Yeah.
That's probably go away once I'm too busy.
Okay, so everybody, if you're watching, man, book your lesson, man. I'm gonna book
it's
one.
Very affordable. I'm not looking to really, I do it for fun. Honestly, it's not real expensive.
Yeah, it's to keep you busy, right?
Yeah.
It is to keep you busy, but definitely, man, I'm booking one lesson with you, bro. Bobby, you should do the same, buddy.
It's fun. I do it because I genuinely like to teach, and I think that's the only way you can teach. You have to genuinely like it. I've been teaching guitar ever since I was a teenager in high school. I had quite a bit of students then, and that's how I actually made the money to pay for some of those instruments up there. But I always loved to teach, and that's just something that I like to do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Absolutely, for sure. So it's a little bit after the 10 o'clock hour. So we thought we'd kind of start getting everything like set up with like our final rounds of questions and stuff like that. So John, do you have a couple more minutes with us?
Yeah, shoot, man. Where am I going?
Absolutely. Hey, no, I totally get it. One
Certainly
thing
not
that
going out to dinner.
oh, you don't have to worry on we can have dinner with you right here. But one of the things that I just wanted to ask you about, again, from because you had talked earlier about your relationship with Tommy, from Doro and all the way up until this present day, and being very, very close with him. I'm just kind of curious, like, what was some of the things that kind of draw you guys so close to do? Because he does so much work, like you said, Hollywood Vampires, Alice Cooper producing. Was it, guitars, personality, or just laughing?
Tommy and I met in a club. We were both in club bands on Long Island. And I would say it was 86 or 87, or somewhere in there. So that's how we initially met. And he was on a club band. He was in a band on Long Island that was great. He was actually the front man of it. And I went and saw them, and it was like amazing. He's such a talented guy, for those of you who don't know. He's a multi-instrumentalist, amazing producer. He's a front man, a singer. I mean, he can do it all. Well, he can. So when the Dorlock thing came, he called me and he said, "Hey, man, you interested in this? I'm just telling you, like, when these guys tell you we're going to do something, it happens." So I said, "Yeah, sure, man. Send me the music." So I sent me the music. We got together and went over it, and that's how it happened. And we became friends and have been friends ever since.
Absolutely, for sure. How was it traveling like overseas at that time versus like now? Was it easier? Was it harder? Because of course, with Doro being German.
That's a great question. It was very different in Europe in the late '80s than it is now, and I can tell you how. Well, first of all, there was East and West Berlin, so the wall was still up. Because remember we had to go through the corridor where they came. The Russian soldiers came on the bus with guns, and you had to get them some T-shirts, and they let you through. So it was a different time. The amenities of Europe have gotten worlds better since then. So I mean, back then it was a lot harder to tour in Europe. I think the food in Europe is great now, and I used to feel like it was a lot better here, but now I'm not so sure. Maybe it's better there now, But back then Europe was a lot of McDonald's, and even that tasted different in the '80s then.
Oh. Nice, dude. Right on. Well, then we'll have to get you set up with some of that great Argentinian cooking that Max here is always raving about.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Hey, Bobby, let me kick it up to you, brother. Final thoughts?
So, John, like you said, favorite guitar. What is the guitar right now that you wish you had?
Oh, so you mean what do I have my eye on?
Yeah, that thing that makes you just drool, salivate. That you just sit there.
Honestly, I probably don't need any more instruments, but
it's never about me, brother. I got 150.
I wouldn't mind a Firebird, like a beat up one, like an aged one. That would be cool. They're a little bit big. Like, I mean, God, you can surf on the back of it if you threw it in the water. So the case is bigger than me. You could fit 2 kids in that case.
But is there that guitar that you always just looked at? Oh,
you're saying if I can have anything, or price doesn't matter?
Yeah, price doesn't matter. It's the.
If I can have anything, then I would take a real '59 Les Paul, but they're very expensive. You can buy a house for that guitar.
Here he goes again.
John, you don't mean one of these, do you?
The Metal Summit is brought to you.
Is that a reissue or a real?
That's a real.
That's a real '59.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
See in the back. Is it real or is that a reissue?
No, it is real.
That's
It is
real.
real. It is real.
Yeah,
That's real.
that's a real one.
Let me see the top.
The number. Show the serial number.
No, I don't need to see the number. Let me see the top. The plane. Oh, that's a nice one, man. You're a very lucky man.
That's so fucking cool.
My
Angel,
account
how are we doing with the fans? Do we have any final questions from them?
No final questions from them. No.
Hey, no
That's a
problem.
good thing. That means we answer all of the fan questions, and we thank you guys for watching.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
Anything from you, Angel, for John?
No, Bobby asked the question I was going to ask.
Bobby. Boomer.
Sorry, I
John, I
couldn't
had a
get to
great
the
time. I
question.
really appreciate it.
Hey, no worries. Well then, Max, how about yourself there, my
No,
good brother?
just thank you, John. Thank you so much for your support, brother. Because sometimes it's difficult, like it's tough to get musicians to to come and see us, visit us as a guest. This is amazing.
Yes.
Talking about music, talking about what we love. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate
You're
it.
so
Yeah, we
welcome.
really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
guys all. I really appreciate it. Great time. Thank you. Great questions too.
Absolutely.
So,
No,
John,
thank
when
you so
go
much,
up
John,
to
because this
Adams,
was
I'll
also
bring the 59 over.
That-
When you go up to Reavers, I'll bring the 59 over.
Wow. Are we off the air or we're still on?
we're still on right now.
Wait, we'll go up in a minute.
All
No,
right.
for sure. But yeah, no, thanks again, John. This was really, really cool, man. Especially because we don't really get, guests that really have that real secondary life. I mean, with your law background and stuff, that was
Yeah.
really, really cool to get to talk to you about.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me. Really great questions too.
Absolutely.
Great.
Oh,
Thank you again,
Be
fans,
safe.
so much, man. Thank you so much again for tuning in to this week's Metal Summit. We always appreciate you guys. We love you
Yes.
guys so much. The upcoming guest announcement, we'll launch that on you guys in the near future for you. But thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate our sponsors, our endorsements. All you crazy kids out there, all you birds, bells, and beautiful girls out there, tune in next week for the Metal Summit. Thanks again to John Levin, rocking with Dokken. We love you. See you next week.
John Levine has proven his skills and precision on guitar for more than 25 years. First as a guitarist for Doro Pesh and for more than 2 decades with Dokken. John Levine has always been regarded as one of the best in business. And now he's ready for an interview with the Metal Summit.